It's Friday. What's going on, guys? I'm only a couple seconds late. Happy Friday. Let's switch the full webcam. Whoa, I'm blurry. We'll fix that. I got the name down there and everything. Look at that name. There we go. All right, I shouldn't be blurry anymore. Still kind of am. That's okay. I'm a blurry guy today. What's up, guys? Happy Friday. It's been a little bit. Not really, actually. It's been it's been one day more than usual. That's okay. You guys will have to excuse me. I'm a little bit on the sick side. So if I sound like I am struggling to get some words out, it's because I am. There has been a plague upon house en masse, and it has been going around the office, and I unfortunately am one of the more recent people affected by it. So excuse me if I have to pause and cough or whatever, but we should be able to get through. I'm on the downward slope, so I should be feeling better this weekend. Hopefully by next week. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the new update. Berserkers can tank now. Lots of new PvE content to experience. Gridiron's out. I've been following some of that stuff. Played a couple of matches of Gridiron myself. I got destroyed. So I'm going to look forward to the next PvP stream so I can talk to them about what I can do in Gridiron to be a better Tonka, because I didn't do very well. But we're going to be talking about Lancers today. As you can see right down there. Is this centered? I don't think it is. It might be. No, it's totally not. Let's center it. That's so much better. It's centered now. But we're going to be doing a learn to play Lancer with someone from Tempest Reach with a name that I am trying to avoid saying. But I'll eventually have to say it. So for the sake of the stream, I'm going to call him Tsukiko for the majority of the stream. But I have to try and say the whole name myself, even though it's crazy long. Say the name. All right, let's try and sound this out. I feel like I'm in like kindergarten. Is that when you start sounding stuff out? Okay. Tsukikotsutsukakushi. Did I do it? Is that good enough? Is that good enough? I'm going to go with that was fantastic. But Tsukiko has a very solid guide. Moobot is usually the one that's going to be sending these guides out to the stream. But this time, Moobot's dead. So rest in peace, Moobot has been carved up and sold for steak. I failed the city. I thought I said it right. Did I not? There we go. Harmonious posting in chat. There's a very, very good Lancer guide, and a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today is actually covered in that. So if you've got friends that are horrible Lancers and you need them to be better, what you can do is just subtly mention to them, hey, I was watching the stream and there was this really cool guide that was really informative for me because I don't know how to play a Lancer. And it's this really neat guide. I just link them this guide. And that way they can be a better Lancer. Or you can link them to stream, of course, and then hopefully they can learn a little bit from Tsukiko today. But that guide should be getting linked in chat. Yeah, I know Moobot's dead. It's unfortunate. But we're gonna move on and do what we can. So Tsukiko is in Guild Anime on Tempest Reach. That's where we're gonna be today. And we're gonna be talking all about Lancer. Again, a lot of the stuff we're talking about is in the guide, so we'll probably spend a little less time going into a lot of the detail, and we'll try to get to the Q&A section. So if you guys have questions that aren't included in the guide, or maybe you didn't know about that guide, you can hold on to it, wait till after the stream to take a look at it, or wait till even after ZMR, because we're going to be playing ZMR later too. But let's give Tsukiko a call, and let's get this party started. All right.
Hello.
Hello. So I've given a very small introduction, and I tried to say your name. Apparently, I got graded. The Ukrainian judge gave me a 7.5. So I think I did okay. But I'm gonna call you Tsukiko. Is that okay with you? Did you disappear? Hello?
Oh.
Did you mute yourself?
Oh, okay, yeah. I was trying to do a TeamSpeak, but I accidentally muted Skype as well.
I thought you just exploded. Okay, we're good. So you're good with me calling you Tsukiko today, then?
Oh yeah, that's good. But I think it'd be better if you pronounced my entire name every single time.
I think we'd be here all day, and that's a bad idea.
But that's the entire reason I wanted to do the stream, is to hear you pronounce my name.
Oh well, I guess that part's over, and we'll turn the stream off, and I will I will just walk away in shame. I'm not very good at pronouncing any names, so a name, especially this long.
I feel like this is a running theme.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So I only said that you're in anime and you're on Tempest Reach, but tell us a little bit about yourself. So like, how long have you been playing?
Been playing for a year and a half or to 2 years or so. I'm not sure exactly. And
close enough.
it's like right before the Wonder Home patch when I started playing, something like that.
Oh, okay. And how long have you been playing Lancer?
It was my first class, so since day one that I've been on TERA.
I hear that a lot, actually. People, their first class they pick,
class.
they're just stuck on it. It's like a long-term love. So, what do you like about Lancer, I guess, in terms of tanking? What do you like about it?
Well, for tanking it, I personally think it's the most difficult, but that's why it's the most fun. It's very engaging. Like, I remember on the Teach Me How to Mystic stream, they said it'd play Mystic if they wanted something more engaging and to get into the game. Mm-hmm. And I feel the same way about Lancer.
Have you tried other tanking classes then? I guess just Warrior.
I have not. My Warrior is level 35.
Oh, okay. So you're just pretty much... Now, do you play any other classes then, or is it just you love tanking?
I play a Priest, Mystic, and Berserker as well.
Okay. Now, there's a guide that I linked to chat, and I put in the forum posts for all that kind of stuff. A guide that you have up for Lancers. How long have you had that guide going?
I started it a really long time ago. Like, I mean, I worked on it really slowly, but it's just kind of recently been finished. It was during Fate of Ruin that I finished it. During Fate of Ruin 2, so last patch.
Okay.
I maybe started it like a year ago at this point.
So it's just been a running.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So what about anime? I've had a couple of people on. I think just one actually, but I've had
Kai.
I've had some people. Yeah, I've had Kai on, and I've talked to some people from anime before. I've played streams with them and stuff like that. How long have you been in anime?
I actually just joined like 2 weeks ago, but I'm really loving the guild so far.
What guild were you in before that?
I was in Ecchi, but I had only joined it following a couple of friends there.
Okay. Have you been on TR since you started?
No, I actually started on Mount Tyrannus because I had friends on Mount Tyrannus, but the PvP server was not for me.
Okay, fair enough. And I saw you have some PvP information on that Lancer guide, but not too much detail.
Yeah, I honestly don't think I have enough experience in PvP to write an extensive guide on it.
And we should have a Lancer coming on, I believe, in a couple of weeks. The plan is we will have a Lancer on to talk about PvP, so we'll be able to cover that for all the watchers out there wondering what to do in PvP. So let's just jump right into Lancer and all of its goodness. And again, I will say this a few times to chat. A lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is in the guide that we link, and I'll link it one more time in chat. A lot of this stuff is covered in there. It's a really good guide, so you should check it out, bookmark it, and check it out after the stream if you haven't already done so. But for the sake of the stream, I want to cover some things. Just starting off, let's talk about just leveling up as a Lancer, since the guide covers a lot of endgame stuff and gearing out crystals and all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about leveling up as a Lancer. What kind of mentality should a new player be looking at when choosing a class and deciding on whether or not they want to play a Lancer?
Well, when deciding to be a Lancer, you have to want to put some effort into the game. If you, like, half-ass a tank, it doesn't really work very well. It's a lot more effort than other classes, so you have to be kind of into it.
And I've heard some
And
people say that leveling up as a Lancer,
it's
you feel
pretty
not
easy
as
because you can
needed.
queue.
What's that?
Well, in the dungeons, it's not as helpful to have a tank because you can. The lower level dungeons are easy enough to run without a tank, but because you're a tank, you can instant queue into dungeons almost all of the time. So that's kind of nice when you're leveling.
How would you recommend, or what would you do to, or what would you say, I guess, to a new player that wanted to practice tanking? Because I know that's probably something that a new player, especially in the leveling up process, you can avoid dungeons altogether. And in a lot of dungeons, you don't even have to do a whole lot of tanking. You can get through that stuff pretty quick. For new players, what would you do to recommend practicing tanking?
Soloing BAMs is a pretty good way to like get timings down on attacks and learn the timings of your attacks. See if you can get them between the attacks of the BAM.
So just kind of
Try
going
to
out and
block for as short as
practicing.
possible. Yeah.
Okay, so practicing like mitigation and all that kind of stuff. So I see in the guide you've got a lot of these, a lot of tips and stuff like that. And I wanted to talk about one that you brought up in there. It was actually quite interesting that I think would be good for new players to talk about. Using shield counter to block and then restore resolve with it. It looks like instead of just kind of blocking all the time and then using shield counter as soon as that, as soon as you can, just kind of like you can just hit spacebar as soon as you block an attack. But you say when you shield counter, you take half damage, and then you can shorten this time by quickly putting your shield down and back up. This works great in between multi-hit.
You can block cancel pretty much any skill by hitting the block button again.
Okay.
You can do that even with shield counter.
Oh, okay. So you shield counter to take some less damage and then throw the shield back down.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. Yeah, that was one that I was reading through there. I was like, I wasn't 100% sure. And I'll link. I'm going to link this to chat here as well. This is the tips and tricks section that I was talking about. If you wanted to go through there, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. Okay, so we'll cover a lot of different things for newer players as we progress through here. But I do want to talk about different crystals and different roles on gear. I know one of the things that a lot of newer players will be thinking when they see Lancer and they think tank, they'll see all these aggro rolls and they'll see aggro crystals and stuff like that. So I want to talk about when it's important for people to actually have aggro rolls, like aggro on the brooch, aggro crystals, and all that kind of stuff. So talking about the weapon, I see crystals, the ones that you have on now, all aggro, and then you've got the focus Niviate as well. Now I've heard that using aggro crystals may not be necessary all the time as a tank. Is that true?
If you're running with DPS that are not as high, you can add in, say, pounding crystals to help with the damage of the team if you can hold aggro without the threatening Niviates.
Okay, so if you're gearing, or if you're rolling through dungeons with maybe other newer players, and then you've got gear better than them, you could use different crystals. Is there a good way to tell when you shouldn't be?
You should get used to inspecting the other damage dealers in the party, just so you know what they're in, and if you've ran with them before, you kind of know where they're at experience-wise. You can just kind of base off of that.
Okay. And then on the chest piece, I see you have Hardy Niviates all the way. I know for a newer player, one of the things that might be very, very tempting is just straight up HP all the way. Why use these damage mitigation over just straight HP?
Well, for one thing, if you don't have all the damage mitigation, you can't block unlimited damage. So if you don't have enough reduced damage, you'll get hit through block, and that's definitely not good. And even if you do have more HP and you can survive longer that way, it's more for your healer to heal.
Oh, okay. So it's also taking some of the brute off of the healer.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, we're gonna move a little quicker through these crystals because the guide is so in depth about a lot of this stuff. Anyways, we'll go through this fairly quickly, just to reiterate to stream and YouTube viewers. So again, aggro in the Zerks makes sense. Is there ever a time where you'd swap those out for?
You can use
power?
Swift first.
Oh,
it's a pretty good ratio to get attack speed there if you don't have enough attack speed built elsewhere.
Is there a baseline attack speed that you would recommend for a newer player to shoot for?
Around plus 30, 28 plus 30, somewhere around that range. I'm currently running with plus 36.
So
More is better.
For a newer player,
too much other stuff.
Oh, okay. I see. For a newer player, would you say that, let's say they're just hitting 65 for the first time, looking to gear up, would you recommend ever going for attack speed crystals, or just going straight for aggro crystals to get started, and then actually just switching to attack speed as they feel they need?
Well, Switch Bursts are actually cheaper usually, so it could be an option to just start out with them, because you'll probably have a lot less attack speed in your gear at that point.
Okay. And then looking at the rolls, I see power and crit factor. It makes sense. Now, does actually having and dealing more damage also get more aggro for you as the tank?
Yes, it does. Dealing damage does draw aggro, and it's then multiplied by all of the aggro mods that you have.
Okay. All right.
But you shouldn't stack too much damage because aggro is almost always going to be better if it's a decent amount of it.
That's fair. All right, so we'll go through some of the weapons here, but I also want to look at the chest piece roll. I always like focusing on the specific roll for the chest piece. I see spring attack by 15%. Now, what's the reasoning behind that?
It's a lot of damage on. It's pretty much your hardest hitting skill, with all of the glyphs in the skill line, and it has a very short cooldown of 4 seconds, and you can spam it pretty much all of the time. By using Shield Barrage, Double, and then Spring Attack. And it's an instant cast if you chain it.
Okay, that's fair. Is there ever a different role that you would want to be going for then on that chest piece? You're just beating me up.
I've seen some Lancers use the Challenging Shout cooldown reduction line, but I personally think it's quite a bit inferior. But I can see how some people can make that work.
Now, why would you say that it's inferior?
It's just a lot of damage. With
Oh, okay.
Attack.
Giving up too much damage for just a little bit of extra aggro?
Yeah.
I guess aggro over time because it reduces cooldown, not increases aggro. Okay. I'll go quickly through, just hover over the gear for people to take a look at and see what kind of rolls you went for. Again, a lot of this stuff is covered in the guide. If people are watching YouTube, they can pause and take a look at this and kind of break it down themselves. If there's a piece of gear or a roll that you have specifically that you wanted to talk about, feel free to do that.
The brooch, I actually have 2 brooches. I have a quick carve brooch and a grounding brooch. The grounding brooch is more useful on fights that you cannot get as much hits on. You need to rely more on, say, Challenging Shout and your shield counter for aggro draw. So you have to block more in a certain fight. Like a good example is this Tantibus during the Fate of Ruin patch. A lot of times you need to block more.
Okay.
And the quick carve is good for the attack speed on Adrenaline Rush when you have reduced cooldown. So you can get out a lot more skills.
Makes sense. Okay. I'm going to go back over here. I'm looking at the boots. Again, I'm quickly going to go through here.
And I've seen some Lancers go for mana innerwear, but if you have enough mana potions, you can just use power. I find it helps most of the aggro.
Now, is aggro in the end game, I guess, where you're doing hard mode progression stuff, is aggro still a big issue for Lancers?
It is still a pretty big issue, yeah.
Okay. Is it just because everybody deals so much damage?
Yeah.
Since we're on that topic, actually, what class would you say has the best chance of pulling aggro off of Lancers?
Well, classes that have more burst damage, say Sork or Berserker, they're likely to pull it like for a short amount of time as they get in their big crits. So be careful of that. Or you also need to watch for when classes use like long cooldown skills like In Cold Blood and Bloodlust. You can watch on their buff bar and notice the animations for it. Or if you're in, say, a voice chat, they can say when they're popping those skills, and then you can counter that with your Adrenaline Rush.
That's good to know, actually, being able to...
Oh, another thing is after someone pulls aggro, I don't know the exact numbers, but a Challenging Shout apparently lowers the aggro on other players on that boss monster.
Oh, okay, so it actually lowers them on the
Yeah,
aggro table as opposed to raising you?
Well, it does both.
Oh, it does both. Okay.
It has a threat mod and it lowers the aggro of other players.
Interesting. Okay. Actually, I haven't heard that before. That's really interesting to hear. I thought it was just a pure aggro boost. I didn't know it was an aggro, like a slight aggro reduction for anybody else.
It is a lot of aggro too, though.
Yeah. All right, and I'm gonna link people to the gear section. I know you've got one here for equipment and roles. I remember you mentioning that this isn't updated for the Go Berserk patch. So for people that are going to be clicking on this in chat or looking at the
Most of the rolls are still accurate, so
okay, that's good to know.
the jewelry rolls are completely different. Just all different rolls now.
Yeah, and I see that you have two piece. So I see two Deathwise, and then I actually see two of the Ire Time. Now, is that because do you actually have this as a preference, or
This is a preference, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would actually go for the Force earrings now, the power ones. The reason to go for Deathwise last patch is it was 26 crit rate versus I think 11 power, so it was a lot more crit rate. But now it's 15 crit rate it's 15 power versus 26 crit rate. So
Deathwise is still a really good option then?
yeah, and the new aggro jewelry, it would only add 6% aggro and 4 endurance and 5% max HP. So it's not really that much for aggro draw, but it is a little bit more defensive.
Interesting. Did you just consider it an even trade-off then? Is that why you stick with Deathwise instead of going for some more of the defensive abilities? Or is it more of a, like, you don't feel like you need more defensive, you want more offensive?
It's that I want more offense. I don't feel like I need more defense.
Okay. Now just explaining that a little bit as well, is the reason you go for more of an offense strictly for aggro gain, or is it you're also trying to contribute more damage, or is it like a combination of both?
It's mostly for aggro gain.
Okay.
But the extra damage can help out with shield phases and whatnot.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So again, I linked in chat the link to the guide with some more information on crystals and gear. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask them at the end of the stream. I want to be able to move on to talk about just kind of mentality for new players. We covered a little bit about that in the very beginning, but I wanted to talk about some of these newer encounters for Lancers that are going to be for newer players. Maybe they didn't experience too much of the initial Fate of Ruin expansion. But so let's talk about some of these new encounters. Specifically, I want to talk about this may be the first time they're experiencing a raid. So in a raid environment with a Lancer, is there anything different that they should be approaching a raid as opposed to a party, just a regular 5-man party?
There isn't too much. There's more players that are more likely to spike aggro. It's just more damage dealers.
Sure. So you'd say that they probably have to be quicker.
There's more people to pay attention to as far as using your support skills.
You say a lot of things about, like inspecting party members and making sure that you're watching people that maybe use like in cold blood and stuff like that. How important is it for Lancers to get used to all the other classes and how they work?
It is pretty important, but I honestly had not had much experience with all the classes until that double XP event that was going on during Fate of Ruin. That was a really long XP event, and I just started playing a bunch of classes so I learn their skills. But if you run with people, you'll see them using skills like that. You can look at their buffs.
And it's
You
probably
can ask them about it as well.
It's probably about acknowledging or recognizing rather which buffs are which, because I know probably one of the things for a new player, and I know it's sometimes fairly difficult, and I'm using your portrait as an example here. There's a lot of different buffs that people can have on their bar, so it's probably good about recognizing which buffs pop up to know when maybe you need to use something to spike your aggro. A lot of buffs. Lots of buffs.
There are a lot of buffs. Buff bar goes all the way across my screen sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen that too, especially. especially on these progression type things. Like using instance matching, yeah, they can get pretty long. But when I watch streams of people doing like the brand new content, and they're using every buff, food buffs, and everything possible, it can get crazy long. Oh, here we go. Your buff bar is getting even longer. I love it. All right. Let's see here. So I want to focus on a mentality for new players. Hitting 65 for the first time. And
there's one thing that I wanted to mention about the Nijori that I feel is kind of important.
Okay.
The new necklaces cannot be rolled for aggro, so don't waste thousands of semis trying to get an aggro roll. Roll 4 power instead as the next best option.
Yeah, that would be very unfortunate if people were spending semis to roll for something that didn't exist.
Yeah, I felt like that was important to mention.
That's a good call out. I like that. Okay, so for a new level 65 Lancer for the first time, going into some of these dungeons, maybe not doing instance matching for the first time, what kind of dungeons would you recommend would be the, I would say, most forgiving for Lancers to be learning as they progress through the endgame?
Let's start with the easy stuff, so like channel works and what else is there? Channel works, RG, Ravenous Gorge, and then Abysmal Rise normal mode will get you Fulminate, and the old jewelry, which is still pretty good, and it's easier to roll as well.
And Abysmal Rise, yeah, that's definitely a good one too. Normal. Now, what about progressing beyond that? Then, would you say that they should spend some time maybe practicing a lot of the normal modes before skipping into hard modes? I know a lot of people, especially with the new gear.
Nope. Just repeatedly run normal modes. Definitely finish your jewelry sets. So probably go for like Deathwise earrings or fire earrings, and the forest rings and necklace, because they're pretty easy to get now.
Okay, and then after that, moving.
And they help a lot. Time. Yeah, and after that, Ire Time and Forest Tune, or mixing the old and the new jewelry names. Was it Forest Time?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's Forest Time.
Okay. What was it? Okay.
And another option is you could do Vault and get Bloodwise rings for attack speed, but the aggro it's a lot of aggro compared to the attack speed you'd get there.
So would you still recommend going for Bloodwise to begin?
Yeah, possibly, before you run Abysmal Rise normal.
I guess it increases your chance to get something, right? Instead of, like, you can actually, if you're not getting the rolls that you need on pieces, you can always just kind of go for, the more drops you get, the better the chances that you're going to get something that you can use.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the difference between Lancers, Berserkers, and Warriors. I know Berserkers are new, so it's kind of hard to talk about them as a tank. So let's start with Warriors. Where does Lancer and Warrior really differ in tanking?
Well, Lancer, it has more defense because it's metal, and it has more support skills, and also has more leashes, which are good for positioning mobs.
So would you say that there's just more control?
Yeah, when dealing with mobs, because it doesn't work on elite mobs or BAMs.
And Berserker's brand new, so it might be hard to talk.
Yeah, I've learned the new skills on my Berserker, but I gave up on tanking for now because I don't have enough room on my action bar.
I guess that is a problem, right? Because you got a couple of new skills added, a couple skills changed, and then a whole new.
They should make it so you can have 3 full action bars up at once.
You know, I'd actually like to see some more action bars coming in. There's so much stuff, all the buffs, and consumables and stuff that people use. I like putting all that stuff on my action bars.
I make sure to put everything I use on my bar because there's a bit of interface lag and it can trip you up when you're running stuff. So I just make sure everything is on my bars.
One of the things that always gets me too is I'll completely space out and forget to use something. Like I think I have it, like food, for example. So if I put everything on my bars, I can just click it in order to make sure that I've got everything active when I'm going into a fight. So that's
I've
one
just
way
got some set keybinds that I always press.
Okay.
It's pretty much automatic.
And have you played with a Berserker tank at this point? Like
I
as an off
have
tank?
not. I have not. No.
Okay. So that'll be tough to talk about. I think we have. I'll have to check the schedule. I haven't posted the Teach Me How To schedule, but I think we have a Berserker tank that has volunteered to come on at the end of the month. I'll have to check into it, and I'll be posting for. Hopefully, I'll be posting a schedule next week to cover that. So we might be able to learn a bit more about Berserker tanks, because I haven't experienced Berserker tank myself yet anyway, so that'll be fun to talk about. So Berserkers, or not Berserkers, Warriors and Lancers, if somebody's deciding that they want to tank and and they're not sure what they want to pick, both classes sound good. What would you recommend for a player who wants to just be the best tank? Is the best tank still Lancer, or is it just kind of shared between Warrior and Lancer?
It's about the same now since they got Infuriate and they have more iframes, but Lancer still has the more support skills over them. Actually, another thing I didn't mention is Lancer has more slows. They can use Lockdown, Menacing Wave, and they can glyph Spring Attack for an attack speed slow as well.
So
which
Warrior
can potentially be useful on mobs.
Would you say? So I guess with Warrior having more iframes, invulnerability frames for people who are unaware, do Lancers have any? Backstep?
They have backstep.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a very short iframe.
So backstep's the only iframe there, and then Warriors have a handful. Would you say that the defensive ability of an iframe is better than the other defensive skills that Lancers might have?
It depends on the dungeon you're running. In some dungeons, it definitely is.
That's interesting, because I think a lot of people, or at least I was always under the assumption that Lancers better than Warriors. Warriors are still good, and then Berserkers were coming in kind of like an off tank, like not progression tank, and that's why I'm really interested to talk to some Berserker tanks about how it's changed for them. But that's interesting to hear that Warrior tanks and Lancers are kind of along the same line now. So I think we've covered a lot of different things, and a lot of times we like to talk about combos. Combos are actually included in the guide as well, so if you guys were checking out that Lancer guide, I'm going to post it again. There are combos in there. It's for skill rotation specifically. I shouldn't call it combo. For skill rotations, you can check those out. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about anything that maybe strikes you as maybe it rubs you the wrong way when you see Lancers talking about or playing a particular way that you wanted to maybe clear up.
One thing that irks me a bit is seeing Lancers build a lot of crit rate and try to tank with damage completely, which it's a little bit dangerous on the other side, because since their attacks are slower, they're less likely to be able to block stuff, and it's much less consistent aggro draw. Like, if they get unlucky with critting, they'll have a lot less aggro draw compared to a Lancer with more attack speed and power. Their aggro draw will be a lot more consistent, so it won't ever drop.
Now, do you have a preference on skills? Because you were talking about going for crit rate and stuff like that. And then we talked about attack speed. Do you have a preference, maybe like a tier list for different stats to go for?
It's pretty much attack speed, aggro, cooldown reduction, and then power, and then crit rate. And after that, pretty much just endurance.
Okay. That's pretty straightforward. I like that. That's interesting. Aggro actually second on that list after attack speed. Is attack speed hard to come by for a Lancer?
Not too much. It's got a lower base, but you can add it in so many pieces of gear now.
Okay. Awesome. I think we've covered a lot of different stuff. Again, I didn't want to go into too crazy amount of detail. I think sometimes maybe sometimes maybe I ask too many questions on some of the things that can be answered very easily, or people already know. And luckily enough, you have a lot of stuff covered in that guide, which I mentioned a bunch of times, and I'll link people to. So I wanted to give an opportunity to chat, to actually ask some questions. And I already saw one right off the top, and that was...
I would say that endurance is not almost useless, because Lancer has a low base endurance. Adding more gives you a lot of defense. So it's not almost useless. It's just you need to prioritize aggro over it. So in cases where you'd get more offensive stats, you wouldn't want to put endurance there instead. Say an option for that is like gloves. You can get 9 crit rate or 4 endurance. I would go with 9 crit rate.
Very good. All right, I'm going to link that one more time. There's the Lancer guide. For people that are watching this on YouTube, Lancer guide should be in the description, in the comments. Check it out. It's got tons of stuff. Any of the questions that we typically go through are covered in there, and most of the questions we talked about are in there. Let's see. With all the roles and consumables and everything, is it really necessary outside of the hardest content? What is that reference to? Bo
Is
White.
what really necessary?
I don't know. I'm gonna Bo White. What are you referencing? It's with all the roles and consumables and everything. Is it really necessary outside of the hardest content? Necessary for what? One of the things that I like to bring up. That's always a good question. I see Ellen right here, and in the guide you cover this as well. But I wanted to ask, what is your preference on races to pick?
You just can't go wrong with an Ellen. They're too cute. But other than that, a high elf has a high elf male, particularly, has a fast animation on Shield Barrage, which is a very primary skill in your rotation. And they also have the mana regen on Resurrection, which is really nice. And this is an instant mana regen to full. Skill on I don't remember the cooldown exactly. And mana can be quite a bit of an issue. So High Elf Male is a really good choice.
Now, I saw you put Baraka all the way at the bottom. That makes me very sad.
It's mostly their animations.
Poor Barakas.
Which I hear it's actually getting equalized at some point as far as like the reach on the skills.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when that is going to happen though.
I haven't heard of a time frame, so I'm not sure. So one of the things that actually struck me was the abilities, the racial abilities. How come the racial abilities usually don't seem to play into racial picks? Is it just the other positives are too great?
Yeah, and they really don't make that much of a difference. And if you're like, say, Kastanic, that 1% crit rate, most of the time you're in front of the boss and you're not relying on crits to hold aggro. So it's not very important for a tank. If I was a DPS, that would be a much better option.
Oh, okay. So the question, it looks like, was so endurance being necessary in the harder dungeons. Is endurance really that important between like getting 3 or 4 shot?
Yeah, definitely is. But you just don't want to add it in places where it costs your aggro and you have someone else get 1 shot instead of you.
That's probably good. Let's see. I'm starting a new Lancer. What is the fastest way to level?
I don't know how long ago I leveled this Lancer exactly, but it was quite a while ago. But I just queued for dungeons pretty much the entire way up, did the story quest, and that got me to 65. Well, to 60 back then.
Yeah, one of the quickest ways now is if you can, which you might be able to with avatar weapons, is being able to work on BAMs, which we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, is helpful for you to learn some of your mitigation and like avoidance skills, reading some of the tells from BAMs and stuff like that. You can get a lot of XP killing BAMs. So if you can, that's a good way to practice leveling up too. But just follow the quests. The story quest is very quick to go through. Gets you a lot of XP. Teach Tonka block canceling in between shield barrage. Oh god.
Right. You said that? What?
What's that?
What was that question?
It was teach Tonka block canceling between shield barrage.
Block canceling between shield barrage? What?
I don't know. Block canceling between... I'm not sure. Maybe it's between shield barrage and counter? We don't have anything to hit, so... I mean, you'd have to duel, I guess.
Huh.
Because we were talking... I think it was because we talked about a little bit earlier.
Block cancel shield counter?
Yeah.
It's shortest animation.
Can you show me the weapons and gloves? Yeah, let me...
I know someone mentioned ping. It's probably not a good idea to tank on much higher ping, but if you do have higher ping on a Lancer, you'll probably want to build more aggro instead of attack speed, because it'd be much harder to use the attack speed. Just get it in places where it doesn't cost as much attack speed.
Let me see if I can catch up to chat. Say his entire name. I will later. I promise. Hey,
My
Moobot's
attack
back.
speed from just gear is just plus 36.
We talk about shield, or rather block canceling animations and stuff like that. For a newer player, or maybe somebody who doesn't really understand why, I like talking about this stuff because it's interesting too. But why is block canceling so important?
It shortens the animation on the skill, allowing you to get more skills out quicker, which is more aggro draw. And you're also able to block sooner that way, so you can take less damage. Oh, and someone's mentioning attack speed scrolls. Mentioned consumables. You should always use a swiftness scroll, nostrum, and charms. That's pretty much the bare minimum of consumables.
And I know we just ran rootstock, and what kind of food buff would you be recommending for Lancers to be using?
Grilled piglings are nice. The mana regen is really helpful, and they're really, really cheap. Other than that, anything that gives attack speed is nice. Which are the Half Moon Croquettes, Lamblagagis, and Struthio breast solids.
And for people that are wondering what rootstock is, it will come back. It's just a festival where you can earn. You can earn all different kinds of stuff, but the food buffs are one of the main ones that come out of it, and they're just an extra stat boost. Is there a certain rotation you use to keep aggro?
I think of my skills as like a priority list, as what combos draw the most aggro. So pretty much on the top of that list is Shield Barrage, Spring Attack, and Wallop, and the Shout, and Rally Cry. But you'll just use whatever's off cooldown that it's the highest aggro draw.
Would you consider it really important to make sure that your debilitate stacks stay up during the entire fight?
That's very important. There is one thing, it's actually harder to hold aggro the more endurance debuffs are on the boss. So in some situations where you wouldn't be able to hold aggro with debilitate up, it might help if you don't have as many endurance debuffs. But most of the time, you'll just want to have debilitate up. It's very, very helpful for the party to do more damage.
Interesting. I never thought about it like that before. Is if you're having a hard time holding aggro,
because
debilitate off.
There's threat mods on your skills which won't go down with your damage. So everyone else's damage goes down, but your skill threat mods don't.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. I never thought about that before. I like that. That was a good question. About talking about the combos and stuff. Let's see. Yeah, 60 to 65 for leveling. 60 to 65 Vanguard quests are pretty fast. Yeah, doing some of the Vanguard quests in between doing the story quest is good. You can get a ton of XP for doing dungeons with Vanguard quests. Let's see. As you're climbing the gear ladder, how much do you need to get perfect on rolls? How necessary are consumables? Did we cover? I think we covered the necessity of consumables, but
yeah. For rolls, I would recommend that you just +9 your gear and you don't masterwork it, and you can just use common scrolls, which are very cheap, and just get perfect or close to perfect rolls. So the 2 best rolls that you can on an item with say 3 rolls, or you can try to get perfect. It really doesn't cost very much if you're using the common scrolls. There are 5 gold from a merchant, and then like 50 silvers for the identification scroll. So that's mostly good for like what is it called, Roth now, which is a stepping stone gear up to Schisma. But for Schisma, you'd probably want to +12 that. You need to masterwork it, and it's much more expensive to roll when it's masterworked. But I would recommend that you roll gear before you go for +12. The rolls help quite a bit more.
interesting. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, right? Because as you're getting all the way up to +9, if those rolls aren't very good, you're gonna have a hard time. Let's see. Let me scroll down, see if I can get caught up. Ask him for etchings. I think etchings are included in the guide as well, but I'll actually go through the different etchings that he's got on his gear here. So energetic on the weapon. Would you use anything else in that?
Not really. The threatening etchings are not very good at all. The amount of aggro you get is just too low compared to the attack speed you can get from energetic, and the cooldown reduction is really nice as well. It's kind of defensive and offensive because it reduces cooldown of even your defensive skills, not just your offensive skills. Say backstep is even reduced by it.
And then grounded on the chest piece, so for endurance.
Yeah, I explained earlier, Lancer has a low endurance, low base endurance, so it helps a lot.
And then gloves, once again, energetic. Already covered that. And then boots, that is going to be grounded. Do you use attack speed scrolls when tanking?
I do use attack speed scrolls when tanking. It is an option to use they're crit power scrolls. I keep changing the name. It is an option. It's mostly better on, say, bosses that have a lower endurance, but most of the bosses this patch are level 68, so they have higher endurance and crit resist compared to a level 65 boss, so the attack speed is a lot more helpful.
Can you ask him about inner armor? We covered it a little bit earlier, but did you want to go over inner armor just one more time? Power is what you've got on it currently.
Yeah, I'd pretty much just say power. You can use mana regen if you're having some issues with that, but if you have enough mana potions, you should be able to keep yourself up. Elixirs, restoratives, and divine infusions.
One of the questions from the chat is, do you have difficulty on solo content, such as like Gillyglade?
No, actually I don't. I find solo content is really easy on Lancer because you can block and still pump up pretty good damage compared to, I hear warriors, like they can't block an offensive stance, so.
And then you probably just, I would assume, swap out a bunch of different crystals and stuff like that.
I can show you my DPS setup I have on.
Let's look at that.
It's pretty much the same as what a DPS class would do. So I would use this for soloing. Another option is if you're on a boss that can't be back crit or it's hard to back crit, you can just run a Slaying and a Furious instead of the Bitter and the Savage.
I think I'm not.
And then you'd have to maintain below half HP.
I don't think my screen is updating. Oh wait, the accessories did. There we go. It was weird. I saw one crystal missing from the chest piece.
Huh.
I think
it might have inspected me like right as I was switching.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Let me scroll down, see if I can get caught back up again. So hitboxes on races don't matter for Lancer. Is that true?
They mean hitboxes on yourself?
I think that's I think they're talking about the hitbox. It's
not going to make much of a difference in PvE.
Let's see. A lot of talk about ping. So much talk about ping. Yeah, someone was saying if you're over 100 ping on Lancer, you're going to have a hard time, but...
it's not too bad with 100 ping. Sometimes if my ping spikes, I'm around there. But usually I'm around, I'd say an average is like 60. But it sometimes goes down to like 20, which is really nice.
Let's see. Any other questions in chat? We'll wait to see if we can get any more questions on Lancer here. Let me ask you, while we're waiting for some questions from chat, what is your favorite boss encounter to tank on? It can be past as well.
That's a pretty difficult question.
What is his attack speed? This is the PvE, or the solo, 146. It's plus 46, but I think we expected
scroll up.
What's that?
So I have a swiftness scroll up right now, attack speed scroll,
okay.
Which is 10 more attack speed.
Gotcha. I was going to say, I think before it was 36 or 33, something like that.
Tricks like skating are helpful in PvE. It's more useful for PvP, but if you're low on mana or your movement skills are on cooldown, it can definitely save you. Or just get pissed off faster. It's nice.
Oh man, questions about Lancer versus Zerker. It's been, it was tough talking about the new Zerker. I mean, I guess, what do you think about the viability of tank Zerkers, just on paper?
I don't think they'll be a main tank class. I mean, I can see them being off tanks so the main tank dies, but I don't think people are going to actively look for any Berserker tanks.
Probably good for stepping stone content, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Lucky thing is Berserkers can still do a ton of damage. So if you need to find a friend that's a warrior or a lancer and you play Berserker and you don't want to tank in some of the hardest stuff, you can always just smash it with your axe. Do lots of damage. Tonka wants to start a war. No, I don't. Wait, a war is in like a battle or a war is in a warrior? I got enough classes. I got to figure out Berserker tanking. That's my next role. Berserker tanking. Is the Papori race good for Lancer or Castanic Mystic?
I don't know exactly. I don't remember them being particularly good, so they're probably not.
It's all about Ellen, right?
I think Papori is pretty low compared to the other races for Lancer.
Let's see. What's the hardest class to keep aggro with? I asked that one a little bit earlier.
Said burst damage classes.
Yeah,
Gunner's
yeah.
last patch were hard to hold against just because they were a little bit overpowered, just a bit. But now the other classes are buffed around their level, so it's fine now.
Is it harder to hold aggro this patch than it was last patch?
I wouldn't really say so, but I also upgraded my jewelry right away, so that might play a bit of a role in that. And most people haven't upgraded their gear yet, so it's really no way to tell at this point.
Minea wants to hear about the favorite team setup. What would you consider your favorite class combination for your team?
Well, a priest is always nice for energy stars, and then a warrior for traverse cut, and then 2 high damage dealing classes, say a berserker, slayer, or gunner, or something like that. Generally, less range classes is easier on the healer, and it's easier for them to, say, get back crits. Also, when there is range classes for certain bosses, say the last boss of Timescape, since it's kind of in a fixed location, you can focus more on where the range classes are and turn it a little bit towards the back towards them.
Poor Sorks. Never get mentioned.
Sorks are actually good this patch.
Yeah, I know Sorks are good. I always hear these combos when we have priests on, when we have mystics on, when we have like any of the DPS classes on, and we ask about the combinations. Or I was like, let's see, Lancer tank, priest healer, berserker, and then whatever I am, and then something along those lines. Poor mystics. Poor Sorks.
Once they give the attack speed buff to mystics, I'll be fine running with them.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Minea by proxy because she loves playing Mystic, and she's excited for the buffs that'll be coming.
I'm more excited for the Mystic buffs than the Lancer buffs, actually. I'll be able to experience them on my Lancer, and I play a Mystic as well.
Oh, that's cool. So you get a kind of a special, it's going to be like a special Tsukiko patch. Can you ask Tonka to say your name again, please? Minea, quiet. Get out of here. Let's see. What would be a good PvP combo? We're going to have a PvP Lancer come on a little bit later, so we can talk a little bit more about that. But did you have a preference for a PvP combo?
You need quicker stuff, so instead of using double shield barrage, you'll get behind someone, stun them, and use shield bash into spring attack, and that speeds up spring attack as well, and you can wall up from there.
Smash him in the face.
But I don't do that much PvP. But that's a little bit nicer because it's quicker to get off.
Let's see. All right, any last minute questions here? We're getting close to 4 o'clock. We're going to do some giveaways, and then we're going to play some Zombies, Monsters, Robots for those of you guys that are interested in that. I'm going to once again link to the guide that Tsukiko has been very awesome at updating. And you have a friend up here. The friend didn't really do too much except for getting you to block. But did you want to give a shout out to your friend here?
Yeah, it's Tickley. Their name is Brian. They actually were an editor for the Lancer guide, so they made it look really fancy.
Oh.
So it's not all props to me. Some props to them.
There you go. Giving off some of the credit there, too. So it's like, it's the two-man team. Well, two-Ellen team.
And speaking of the guide, I'm considering making guides for Mystic, Berserker, and Priest because of the classes I play. But it takes quite a bit of time, so it'll just come out slowly.
Yeah, I bet. You could probably get some help from the community to put those guides together, too. I like the format. It's very simple and easy to go by. I know a lot of people in chat were saying that they were really enjoying the guide, and I know it's going to help out a lot of people.
The layout is pretty much credits to Tickley.
It's simple. I like it. I like simplicity. Sometimes you don't have to have it layered in a whole bunch of like Java or anything like that. You can just have a nice handful of links and data on a page with some images. I like it. Let's see. Well, I'm not seeing too many other questions coming in from chat. There are more questions for me, so I'll actually cover that after I let you go. But any last-minute shout-outs, guild, friends, anything like that?
Not that I can really think of. I just joined the anime guild, but it's really awesome so far.
Awesome. Okay. And this, again, is on Tempest Reach, so if you guys are interested in joining an awesome guild, you can check out anime there. That's also where you can find, let's see if we can say it, Tsukikotsutsukakushi. How'd I do?
Close enough.
Close enough, I'll accept. All right, that'll do it for this. Thanks again for coming on and providing that awesome guide. I don't know how I didn't know about it up until this point, but that's going to be bookmarked for me because I got a Lancer. My Lancer is like 63 on high watch, so I got to get my Lancer to 65 and start going through this guide.
Is that the name of your Lancer? Because that name is just great.
No, it's not. My Lancer is just TAWNKA on high watch. It's unfortunate. But thanks again for coming on. I'll let you go and let chat just enjoy my failure at pronouncing names. And then I'm going to do some giveaways. So thanks again.
Thanks for having me on the stream.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it easy. All right, guys. That was Tsukiko. Oh, man. The name is just so difficult for me to pronounce. I have such a hard time with it. But again, awesome guide. I love it. It's great stuff. I'm going to make sure that we get that shared out to as many people as possible that are interested in playing Lancer. It's got a lot of really hard facts in there, but also a lot of new stuff for players that is great right now, especially with so many players playing the game with the Gunner patch and Fate of Arun and all that good stuff. So we're going to move on to some giveaways. If you guys are interested in participating in the giveaway, all you have to do is be signed into Twitch and be following the channel. That's all you got to do. We're going to be giving away some rogue weapon skins today. These are just the base version of it. So if you guys are interested in participating in that, all you have to do is stick around and, well, hope for the win. Let Minea win the giveaways. No, Bunny. No. More PvE guides in the future. Yes, actually. Let me look at the schedule. I'll let you guys know what it's looking like. Actually, I need to go back to my giveaways. Let me take a look at the schedule. I'm going to put a little bit of tunes on so it's not just me breathing. A little bit on the loud side. Let me see if I can find my schedule. I'm not going to name off the people that are supposed to be coming on because stuff could change if the person has to back out, personal stuff, all that kind of goodness. But the plan for the rest of the month is, I know we've been getting a lot of people wanting to learn about warriors. So we've got warriors on the schedule. We should have... the week following next, we're going to have Lancers in PvP, and we're going to have Warriors in PvE covered. And then The last week of the month on Wednesday, the plan is to have warriors in PvP, and then on Friday to do berserker tanks. So for those of you guys asking questions about lancers and berserkers and how berserker tanks fit in now, the plan is to have a berserker tank join us on the 31st of this month, so the last Friday of the month, and talk about how berserkers fit in and how to gear for that and all that kind of good stuff. So we do have warriors going to be covered at the end of the month. Can you look into allowing mouse wheel up and mouse wheel down to be bindable? That's something I can request for sure. Do you think I will... Wait. I love the warrior better than archer, so my question is, do you think I will like to play the lancer? I would say so. I would say there's a high chance that you would enjoy the lancer, but it's hard to say for sure. I mean, if you didn't enjoy archer, but you enjoyed warrior, I guess it's what's making you enjoy the warrior more? Is it just being up close? Is it the slipperiness of it? I know warriors can move around a lot. If you like the maneuverability of warriors, then maybe look at gunner, maybe look at slayer. It's good stuff. But again, the rest of the month, we're not going to have any Teach Me How to stream next week, but the second to the last week in the month, so July 22nd, the plan is to have a lancer in PvP. We're going to talk about that. And then the 24th is going to be warrior in PvE. I know we've had a lot of people requesting warrior, so we've got somebody for that. And then on the 29th, a Wednesday, warrior in PvP. And then the 31st is berserker in PvE. Now that's just a working schedule. If somebody has to back out or they have an emergency, something like that, we may not be able to do those streams. So that's just to kind of keep a lookout if you were interested in one of those particular classes. Alright, so we're going to do some giveaways. I'm going to start off with 5 winners, and again, these are for the rogue weapon skin. So if you guys are interested in that rogue weapon skin, then stick around. I'm going to do a giveaway, pull 5 winners. They get randomly picked from the viewer list. Moobot is the one that picks it, so if you're mad, be mad at Moobot. Don't be mad at Tonka. So good luck. And I'm going to pick some winners here. I didn't say I'd do 20 giveaways. I would never say that. I would never do it. Moobot, you are very pretty. People are sucking up to Moobot. Moobot is a bot. Moobot does not understand your your flattery. If you want to flatter a robot, try to flatter Harmonia. Although, more of a cyborg. Yeah? Yeah? All right, we got 3 winners picked. This robot love is just a bit off. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. We got 2 more winners to be picked. Mineo is even trying to sway Moobot. Moobot cannot be swayed. All right, I got the 5 winners picked. Let me get the message set up, and then we will announce them in chat. And I'll do 5 more. And then we're going to jump into zombies, monsters, robots. Going to be playing through some PvE stuff today, while Tsukiko just beats up on my GM character. So mean. We're going to be playing through some PvE stuff today, and we'll play some PvP. I like including as many people as possible, so we'll run some PvP matches as well. Moobot versus Maldita, who wins? Moobot, every time. Moobot wins every time. See, Moobot's working. I'm so happy. Thought I was going to have to keep posting that chat. Or posting that guide in chat. But Moobot's got my back. Thanks, Moobro. Moobrobot. Thanks for dealing with the voice, too, guys. Hopefully it doesn't sound too bad. I got sick a little bit earlier this week, and I'm on the recovery side of it. And I know my voice is still a little bit hoarse. It's a little rough. All right, you guys are silly. All right, we got our 5 winners. I'm posting them in chat now. Give me just a moment. Tonka on drugs. No, Tonka on energy drink and coffee. those are my what would it be called? It's not they're not drugs. Stimulant? Those are my stimulants of choice. Sure. Horse, not horse. Did somebody think I said horse as in like animal horse? Alright, so congratulations to Arc Magician, Refestus, JD Lawn, Whippet, and Cat5 Pajamas, which that's a great name. I'm thinking Cat5 Pajamas is in like Cat5 Cable turned into pajamas. I'm hoping that's the case. But you guys have won a Rogue Weapon Smart Box. You'll be receiving a code in your Twitch TV inbox in just a moment. So congratulations to you guys. We'll do 5 more as soon as I send these out. So give me just a moment while I do that. I never look at the Z names. That's not true. It's not true. But again, we're going to be jumping into some zombies, monsters, robots with ZMR producer Swore. He'll be joining us to chat a little bit about what's going on for the weekend. We've got a code for everybody. Should be good. Do we need the same email here in Twitch and in game? No. The way that the giveaways work is when a name... Tonka chooses easy names. How dare you? When a name is selected as a winner, I send a message on Twitch to their inbox, and I include a code. What you do when you get that code is you go to account.nmas.com, and then you paste the code in. There's an enter code button on the right side. You click that, and then you paste the code in. Once you paste the code in, it redeems it, sends it to you in-game in your item claim. Very easy. Very, very easy. make sure that all those messages sent before I pick the next 5. Again, if you want to participate in these giveaways, all you have to do is be signed into Twitch and be following the channel. That's all you got to do. The names are selected randomly from the viewer list. A random question: will Bamarama be coming back when Rootstock returns? I was gone a few days and didn't get a chance to turn in my tokens. Yeah, when Bamarama, or when Rootstock returns, Bamarama will come back with it. I don't see why not. Tonka vs. Manea and Bamarama. Please, I would love it. That would be amazing. How long till Festival of the Sun? The most recent update that we just released has an update to Festival of the Sun in it. So soon. Should be soon. I'll have to check with the majestic tree shark to see what the schedule looks like for that. Even if I was not logged in before, will I still be able to be selected? I watched all the stream and I was not logged in. Yeah, if you're logged in now, you should be able to, you're still in the eligible list because I'm doing the drawings now. So if you watch the whole stream and then I say it's giveaway time and you check to make sure you're signed in and you go, oh crap, I'm not, you're still eligible. You just have to be here during the giveaway time. Alright, got my 5 winners. I keep ignoring your questions. Try it again. I don't get to look at chat the entire time because I'm doing drawings. So if I miss your question, you can feel free to ask it again. All right, just gotta put the codes in, one moment, and then we will announce these final winners and we will jump into some ZMR. Give us cheerleader costumes. They just released. Oh, are you talking about as a giveaway? No, no. No. No, no, not yet. Not yet. Any vague date on when the soundtracks for the new instances will be uploaded? No, I don't have a vague date. The way that the soundtracks worked last time is we actually requested them from Bluehole, and they provided the soundtracks to us. And then we actually built. When you go to the soundtrack and you watch them on YouTube, you can see that there's kind of like a equalizer that plays, or it's not an equalizer, it's bars, visualization to it. We have a creative group that does that. So once we get the actual soundtracks, then we have to have our creative group cut it up for us and make sure that we've got them labeled correctly, and then we upload them. So it could take a bit of time, but that's certainly something we can look into requesting, because those soundtracks are obviously doing quite well. But you guys love listening to the TERA music, which, I mean, I'm listening to it right now. It's great. So we'll do what we can to get them back. What's the next big thing that's going to happen to TERA soon? I don't know. What do you classify as big? There's a new class announcement. That's pretty big. All right, we got them all. All right, so congratulations to Dalinos, Kitten Pandas, Marshall 13. I'm gonna say it's Roman numerals. Avil Wolf X and Juice Jew 114. Juice Jew? Is that what that's supposed to be? Congratulations to you guys. You have won a Rogue Weapon Smart Box. I am sending you your message on Twitch right now. It should show up in your Twitch TV inbox. It may show up in your other section on Twitch. So make sure you check that. You choose Kitten Panda over Bunny. Moobot hates bunnies. Moobot's a cow. Kitten pandas are more Moobot than bunnies. I don't know. I'm trying to string stuff together here. It's not working out. Congratulations to those 5 winners and the 5 winners from the previous giveaway as well. That's going to do it for the stream this week. Next week, we're going to be back, same time, 3 o'clock on Friday. We'll be talking about some new stuff coming up. What will it be? You'll have to find out. But again, thanks to everybody for coming out, and thank you to Tsukiko. I'm not going to try and say the whole name. I've already tried it twice and it failed. Congratulations to everybody who won the giveaways. And again, if you have friends that play Lancers, send them that guide. It's a very well put together guide on all different kinds of Lancer stuff. We're going to be jumping into some zombies, monsters, robots in about 12 minutes with Swore, a.k.a. Scott War, a.k.a. Gears of Swore, all these different weird names. And we're going to be playing ZMR, so stick around for that. I love you guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week, next Friday, for some more TERA action. Take it easy, guys.